So then guys, right here I have the latest and greatest Apple Watch. This is the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and it costs nearly $800 to buy it. And if you didn't know, that's actually the same price as a base model iPhone 15. So that is quite an expensive watch, to be fair. But I also have another watch right here. This here is the Apple Watch SE. This one is the first generation Apple Watch SE that came out in 2020, and it actually only cost me, believe it or not, $80 to buy this Apple Watch. And what I want to know is, even though we have the latest and greatest Apple Watch Ultra right here, and we also have the Apple Watch SE from only just 3 years ago, what is the difference between both of these watches? You know, are you going to get a far more better experience spending out $800 for this watch here? Or are you better off getting yourself maybe a pre-owned watch, or maybe say even not such the best and greatest watch out there, and get yourself a watch like this one here, the Apple Watch SE, what is still supported by watchOS 10 and probably will be supported for watchOS 11 too. And also it's a great watch and it only cost me $80. So for both of these watches, I've worn one watch for 1 week and then I wore the other watch for another week after. Now, something else I want to make clear here with both of these Apple Watches. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 looks very similar to the Apple Watch Ultra 1, but this is the Ultra 2 model. And the same with the SE model. It's very similar in its design to the original SE design we're talking about today. So the second generation, very similar. And actually, just going over some of the specs, as you can see here, the SE watch that I have here, what is the first gen, has an S5 chip inside of it instead of the S8, what the second generation has, what is about 20% slower. Also, the second gen doesn't have that crash detection, and also it has Bluetooth 5.3 instead of Bluetooth 5.0. And it even confesses here that, to be honest, not many people are actually going to use those extra features there unless you actually are in a crash, or for example with Bluetooth 5.3, I can't really think of anything that really utilizes that 0.3 of a difference in that update to Bluetooth. So really there's not much difference between the older SE model and the newer one, in my honest opinion, out there. But something else I want to throw into the mix here is this ring that I've got from Rincon. So then guys, just quickly, I want to tell you that I'm a big watch fan, and you know, I absolutely love my Apple Watch Ultra, but the thing is, I absolutely love normal traditional watches too, quite a lot of the time for me. There's occasions where I actually want to sport one of these watches here, but I don't have all that health stuff and all of those kind of things to keep rates on my heart rate or see how my sleeping's going and things like this. But this is where the great news is. I can wear this watch and I can also wear this ring right here, what is from Rincon. This ring is absolutely fantastic because it can work with Google Fit, it can also work with Apple Health, and also Rincon have their own app too, where I can monitor things like my sleep, my activity, and also I can also check on my stress levels too. And also new features are coming along like a sleeping coach and many other features too, which is absolutely fantastic, so I can monitor how my body is doing. The ring is PVD coated and there's 3 colors you can choose from, and this PVD coating also is resistant against scratches from normal daily use. Before getting your ring, you can get a sizing kit to work out exactly the right size ring you need for your finger, like I've got right here. And one thing I absolutely love about this ring compared to say my Apple Watch that I have is that I can actually get 5 to 7 days battery life out of this ring, where I only get about say 2.5 days out of my Apple Watch Ultra. And remember, this is the Ultra model. Not only this, you can actually charge your ring in the wireless charging case, which can support up to 15 to 18 charges. So if you want to find out more information about this ring from Rincon, make sure you check out the link that's in the description of this video to get more details and also to purchase your own Rincon ring. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the main differences between both of these watches that we have here on paper. What are the main differences between both of these models? Well, the best way I think we can do this is go onto Apple's website, compare the differences in what Apple actually say, because this is where I think the main differences actually show, is what you're going to see in a second, compared to how much alike they are. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to base it off the second generation Apple Watch SE versus the Apple Watch Ultra 2, we have right here. And just remember guys, when I go through it, remember the only key main difference is that S5 chipset, crash detection, and also Bluetooth 5.3, what I will point out. And remember, everything else is exactly the same. But let's have a look then. So then, here are the watches. So the main focus we're going to look at is the SE, and we're also going to be looking at the Ultra 2. And like I said, this is the second generation SE. And the other way I could have done this, I could have shown you all models, and I could have compared to the Ultra 2 to the original SE first generation down here. But we can't get a like-for-like comparison, really. Apple have changed their ways that you can't change these like into drop-down menus anymore. It's really annoying. So we're just going to have to do this. And like I said, it's that chip, it's that Bluetooth, and also that crash detection. What is missing from the first generation to the second generation, and maybe some colors too. But let's get started then. So looking here then, you can see straight away that the actual sizes are different. You're getting like almost a 50mm screen size. It's made out of titanium as well. Nice finish, don't get me wrong on the Ultra 2, but you can only get a choice of 40 or 44mm. This can be about 10mm difference. In fact, that is it here. I've got my 9mm, 10mm difference on these two Apple watches, because I do have the smaller 40mm one here. But scrolling down then, Retina display, both of them have this, and this one has the always on Retina display, and this can go up to 3000 nits, whereas the normal one can only go up to 1000 nits. And this is where I said the difference is that you actually have the S5 inside of the Apple Watch SE that I have, not the S8, because I've got the first gen, and then obviously you've got the S9, so we're talking like about 4 generations different. But it's exactly the same. Siri, Find My iPhone, where it's on here, the S9, it's actually got a faster Siri, you've got the double tap gesture, which is never used, and then also a bit more precision in finding for iPhone, what you've also got. And then scrolling down here, you can actually see there's a few more extra sensors in the Ultra 2, like the blood oxygen app, ECG app. We don't have that, but everything else is exactly the same here with the original SE. And then coming down further here, we've got temperature sensing, and then also we've got cycle tracking as well. Obviously, the first generation SE didn't actually have this. That's something else I didn't mention it didn't have. So it doesn't have the cycle tracking. So yeah, it's just missing those. But everything else here is exactly the same, whereas apart from the crash detection is missing, obviously, on the SE, but it does have the full detection on the original SE. The water resistance exactly the same, 50 meters on the normal SE, whereas you're getting up to 100 meters on the Ultra 2, but generally speaking, most of us are not going to go deeper than 50 meters, generally speaking. Then you've got the GPS. Obviously, you've got just original GPS on here, and then obviously you've got the cellular connectivity, whereas you have the precision dual frequency GPS on the Ultra 2. Just makes it a little bit more accurate with that. Whereas battery life, there is a difference here, where you can get up to 18 hours on an SE, and to be honest, you can get more than that actually, as I will talk to you later on about. Whereas with the Ultra 2, you can get up to 36 hours battery with it. And again, I'm going to talk about a bit more about battery life later on, as you will see, but it says this on paper. It's also pointing out here key differences. It's got the Retina display, always on Retina display, that is different. And then obviously the screen sizes, you can actually see, like I said, we've got the 40mm one. Look at the size difference here, and obviously you'll see this in the actual comparison. Aluminium or aluminum, and then titanium as well. There's a big difference here. Colors as well, and then really, like I said, all those other extra bits and pieces as well that we've actually gone over already. Now, as you saw on paper there, it seems like there is a massive difference between both of these watches. Well, it does look like that, but when you start to use them like I did, I wore one watch for 1 week and wore the other watch for another week, I actually noticed that generally they are both the same watch in many, many ways. I wore the Apple Watch Ultra 2 first of all, and yeah, it was a nice watch to have on my wrist, but then I also switched over to the Apple Watch SE. And to be honest, the only thing that I missed on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 compared to this SE model here was the shortcut button, what I have set up for just having a torch. And that was it really. That's the only thing, a scenario where everything what I was doing on this watch was exactly the same what I was doing on this watch here during those 2 weeks. Even all my apps were the same. Everything just worked exactly the same with watchOS. Yes, the older watch does have a slower chip inside of it, but to be deadly honest, because watchOS 10 is so well optimized, I didn't actually notice a difference in speed difference between both of these watches. I could not tell whatsoever. And yes, the Apple Watch Ultra does have a brighter display, but to be deadly honest, I just really didn't notice the difference. I could always read my watch face in sunlight or in the dark with no problems whatsoever. And then all the usual bits and pieces that are built into watchOS 10. So I'm talking about tracking your steps, heart rate, the weather, the time, and also configuring your faces to be exactly the same. You can see here the watch faces for the time are exactly the same. And then also alarms, answering calls, and also paying with Apple Pay. And even like I said, most of my apps were exactly the same on both of these Apple Watches. And with that, I believe about 90% or even possibly more apps will work on both of these watches. I think only a small percentage of watches apps are actually designed for the Ultra model. And to be honest, like for probably about 90% of us out there, we're probably never going to use those extra apps. So really the SE is more than enough for most people. Now, we're wearing both of these watches. Something else that you're probably going to be asking is, well, what about battery life? What was that like? Well, to be deadly honest, I'm a person who charges my Apple Watches every single night. So, you know, every time I went to bed, I took off my watch and I charged it. Because deadly honest, if you own an Apple Watch right now, you will know you can only probably get around about 2 days battery life out of an Apple Watch generally. Even if this is the Ultra or this watch here. And that is what I was experiencing. So a 3-year-old watch, I did actually do a test where I didn't actually put it on charge for one night. And I actually managed to get down to 22% battery after 2 days. And then on the Ultra, just in case you wanted to know, I did the same test, got up the same time, put it on charge around about the same time, and this watch was actually on 28%. It was slightly more, but when you think about it, that's the same amount of time, 2 days, 22%, 28%. If I went to sleep and I hadn't put them on charge, I probably would have woken up with this watch saying probably on less than 10%, you know, probably 7 or 8%, and this watch probably would have been on 10%. You know, I would have got probably my breakfast in that, and then it would have had to go on charge anyway. So really for battery life, I'm going to say, even though Apple claim this has a way better battery life than this one, generally speaking, I cannot see the difference here. I think the bigger screen and everything does not help with that. That is basically draining more battery, and also the nits brightness as well is brighter than what you're getting on this watch here. So probably that's why the battery life is probably very similar for both of these watches and for most of you guys' uses. I think though my point is clear. A shiny new Apple Watch Ultra is a gorgeous watch. And you know, it's the cost of an iPhone 15, what I said at the beginning of this video. It looks great, it is great, but generally speaking, for about 95% of us, one of these is going to be absolutely fine. This watch is literally the wrong name, I think. They call it the Ultra, but personally, I think it should be called something like the Active, or, you know, something like get the Out and About watch. I don't know. I'm not really good with names, as you can tell. But you get the idea. This watch is designed for extreme sports. If you are climbing up a mountain every weekend as your hobby religiously, then this watch is for you. If you're doing triathlons like about 20 times a year, this watch is for you. If you're doing maybe 1 or 2 or 3 triathlons, this watch is fine. It'll be absolutely fine for you. And if you just go to the gym and whatnot, again, this watch is going to be absolutely fine for you. This watch is such a niche watch, and to be deadly honest, I think the point has been proven here that you don't need to upgrade to the latest and greatest Apple Watch out there. Still, you can pick up a reasonably priced watch for around $80, and it will do everything for most of our needs. Like I said, I believe about 90% of people, this watch is absolutely perfect for you. And with that as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. And also at the same time, we'll hear the latest Apple news, reviews, and comparisons like we've done today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.